After a hard-fought battle, a game that was filled with all sorts of dark arts, guess what? We have to do it again. Libya versus Nigeria, another game in the AFCON 2025 qualifying match coming up on Tuesday, the 15th of October, 2024. Let's get into it. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name is Ayoti, and this is EaglesTracker, the home of Nigerian football. For today, we are previewing the second game, the return leg of the AFCON 2025 qualifying tie against Libya. I'm talking about the Super Eagles of Nigeria. We'll be heading to the Matters of February Stadium or the Benani Matters Stadium in Libya for this game. Of course, this comes off the back of the 1-0 victory for the Super Eagles in Uyo on Friday. That game in Uyo was a very, I would say, for lack of a better term, a very somehow match where the Libyans did not really come to play. They packed the bus, they made all sorts of antics, time wasting, all sorts of things in order to try to get a draw. And guess what? Eventually, they were undone by Fisayo Dele Bashiru, who came off the bench, was a super sub, saved us like he's done in the past before, and of course helped us to get this 1-0 victory. So now we have to do it all over again, but this time we are doing it on their home turf. Let's talk about the game, what I think is going to happen, predicted lineups, and all the things to expect from both sides. As always, I'll start by talking about the FIFA ranking. Nigeria is still ranked 39th in the world. Libya is still ranked 121st in the world. So, of course, on paper, based on rankings, this is a team that Nigeria should be beating. Following up from the last game, now, if we look at the form record, last 5 matches, Nigeria have 2 draws, 2 wins, and 1 defeat in the last 5 games, whereas Libya have 1 win, 1 draw, and 3 defeats in their last 5 games. Of course, the most recent one I already spoke about, Fisayo Dele Bashiru coming off the bench to score that goal and to beat Libya 1-0 in Uyo. It was a very, very good, goal, I will say. Simple on the eye, but still a very good finish to control the ball, one time to finish, put it in the back of the net. And we hope that we can see more of that in Libya. As far as head-to-head, 5 wins now for Nigeria, 1 win for Libya. The only time that Libya have beaten us was in 2004 LG Cup semi-final. This will be the 7th meeting between both sides. And of course, the last win came just a few days ago in Uyo. Looking at the Libyan squad, who are some of the players that I think we should watch out for? I'll go by pointing out a player that I had pointed out before the first game. Their left back called Sobi Al Mabrouk. He is still a player that gets involved in most of Libya's play. He was involved a lot in their very limited build-up in the first game. And I think he's going to be potentially a bigger threat in the second game because, of course, he's playing on home turf, he's playing in front of their own fans, and he'll be feeling more confident. Another player that I'm just going to highlight because of how he performed in that first game in the center of the park is Bader Hassan. He is a midfielder for Libya, and I felt like he was probably their best player on Friday. He completed most of his passes. I think he had about 87% completed passes or something like that. Made 4 tackles, made 4 interceptions, won most of his duels, was very combative in the midfield, and it was maybe the only Libyan player that really came to play a football match in that game or that was really fighting. The rest of them were just sitting back and waiting for Nigeria to come at them. How do I expect the Libyans to play in this second game? I was wrong. In my former match preview for the first game, I had expected Libya to come out and try to play a little bit because that's what they typically do. But to be honest, to be fair, they typically do not face a team with the strength of the Super Eagles. So they probably looked at this game against Nigeria and said, we're playing in their own home stadium. If we just come out and play our natural game of football, and then go flog us. So they park the bus in Uyo. But now, looking at this second match, after 3 games, they only have 1 point. If Nigeria win and Benin Republic beats Rwanda, we would qualify for the tournament. Benin Republic will be in pole position to qualify as second place in the table. So Libya are desperate for points. And in fact, with only 3 games left, even 1 point is not really enough for them because are they going to win their other 2 games against Rwanda and Benin? So they absolutely need to try to get a win against Nigeria. A tall task, but something that if they want to qualify for this tournament, they have to do. And with that being said, I want to say that they are going to come out and play ball a bit more in this second game. It is not something that they cannot do. Yes, their players are not as talented as the Nigerian players, no doubt about that. Their players don't play at high levels like Nigerian players, no doubt about that. But in the flashes that they actually showed in the game on Friday, you can see that if they choose to play, they can actually play. Even Coach Osneguavon expected them to play a bit more, which is part of the reason why he played Ndidi and Onyeka together in the midfield. Because if we knew that they were going to come and sit back, he would have put another attacking midfielder or at least a more creative midfielder in the center of the park rather than playing two DMs. So I'm expecting that now that they desperately need points, they are playing in front of their fans, they are playing on their home turf. They should be feeling more confident now. Abi, what do you think? They should be feeling more confident. They should be feeling more inspired. The crowd will be behind them, and I hope that they won't repeat the parking of the bus. I expect them to come and play more football. And if they do come out and play more football, I think ultimately, it is going to make things easier for the Super Eagles of Nigeria. Because if Libya play their best game, the Super Eagles play their best game, I believe that Nigeria will win this match 5 times or 10 times out of 10. Absolutely, or 5 times out of 5. We are just that much better than they are. That's the reality. As far as how I think the game will go, I'm expecting there to be all sorts of issues. We saw time wasting. We saw their negative tactics in Uyo. Even though I'm hoping that they don't play negative tactics again, I expect them to still try to suck time away from the clock whenever they can. I expect them to be going down easily. I expect the crowd to be very hostile. The game is at night, so don't be surprised if fans are with lasers pointing into the eyes of the Super Eagles players. Don't be surprised if fans are racist towards Nigerian players. Don't be surprised if fans are making noise and making it a very hostile atmosphere. Even the night before, don't be surprised if fans don't let the Nigerian players sleep well in their hotel. I'm expecting all sorts of antics. The referees, we already saw the referee and his linesman disallow a legitimate goal in Uyo. So think about what can happen when we're playing away in Libya. Again, I will not be surprised if the referees are not on top of it. I will not be surprised if the referees are under all sorts of pressure from the Libyan authorities, from the Libyan coach, from the Libyan players. I believe that, it will be a very tense game, and there will be a very aggressive game. The referee will probably have a lot to do. Almost every small thing that a Super Eagles player does, they will put all sorts of pressure on the referee to maybe give a free kick, give a yellow card, or even give a red card. So I would just say I believe and I think that the Super Eagles players will need to be very, very careful with their tackling, very, very careful with how they talk to the ref. Because honestly, it would not surprise me if a player got sent off, whether fairly or unfairly. It would not surprise me. So this is something that I think the Super Eagles players need to be very, very careful of. They are professionals. Many of the players in the team are experienced. They've played for quite a while. The likes of I know have played in multiple tournaments. Ekong at the back. So in Didi also there, Moses Simon. Even players like Chukwueze that are young have played in a number of tournaments. So these players need to be smart. Need to talk to each other. Need to use their professionalism, their experience to make sure that they're not shouting at the ref. They are not committing unnecessary fouls. They are not doing any very bad tackles, because anything that we do wrong can easily be punished in a hostile atmosphere like that. I do not want anybody to get sent off, because not only would it change the dynamic of the match, it would also mean that the player cannot play in future games, and that's not what we want to see. I think ultimately for the Super Eagles to be able to win this match, we need to win the midfield battle. I think we need to be able to control the midfield. We need to try to move the ball quicker in possession, because even if Libya tried to park the bus, if we're passing the ball slowly, there's not much of a threat. That's mostly what we saw in the first half of the game on Friday in Uyo. The Super Eagles were just passing the ball sideways, very pedestrian, not really putting them under pressure, not making them run from side to side. We need to move the ball quicker, switch sides, move the ball around, try to find those incisive through passes through the defense. Look at the spaces between the center back and the fullback. Try to find those passes. We had some good moments. Obi played some good passes. Chukwueze played one or two good passes, but we need to try to find more of these moments rather than always creating half chances. We need to try to create better chances. And also, when we get the half chances, a player like Victor Boniface should be more decisive. Eguavon said it in his press conference after the game that Boniface likes to dress the ball a bit too much. And I know that's how Boniface plays. That's his typical style of play. If you watch him play for his club, Bayer Leverkusen, a lot of the goals he scores are like that. He gets the ball, he takes 1, 2, 3 touches, tries to beat a defender, and then he takes a shot. But in these tight games like this, in these African matches where there's a lot of gra involved and you don't have that much space, to get your shot off, Boniface should try to be more decisive. And when you just get the ball, you see an opening, strike it, shoot it, catch the keeper unawares, catch the keeper off guard, and hopefully you're able to get 1 or 2 goals like this. Another thing that I would say is that we cannot afford to waste our chances like we have been doing in recent matches. Not only the last game against Libya, but also in the games against Rwanda and before that. We get chances if we don't take them. The game that we won 3-0 against Benin could easily have been 5 or 6-0 if we took more of our chances. The game that we drew against Rwanda could have been more, could have been a win if we took our chances. This 1-0 victory that we just got against Libya could have been 2-3 if we took our chances. Yes, I know we had a goal disallowed, but even without that, we could have done better. Chukwueze had the chance. Iwobi had 2 chances. We need to be more clinical in the attack. We need to be more decisive in the attack, and we need to take our chances. Let us stop wasting chances. Let us beat the teams that we are supposed to beat properly. Show them, say they know they're our level, that we are the senior brothers, we are the better side, and there is no reason for us to be having to struggle for an 86th-minute goal to beat a Libya team. These are some of the things that I hope that the Super Eagles players can get right going into this second match. Now, as far as starting 11, Austin Eguavon surprised everybody and he reverted from the back 3 that he played in the first 2 games to play a back 4 against Libya in that first match. So now, honestly, I'm not too sure if he's going to go with a back 3 or a back 4. But as far as my predicted XI, I'm just going to stick with a back 4 for this one. I don't think there will be too many changes. As much as I've said in the past that I would like Maduka Okoye to get his chance again, Stanley Nwabali has not done anything wrong. 1 or 2 shaky moments in the last game, but ultimately kept a clean sheet. 3 games in the AFCON qualifiers, 3 clean sheets. He has not really made any mistake. So I'm going to go with Stanley Nwabali in goal again for this game. At left back, Bruno Onyemaechi has been impressive so far in this AFCON qualifying series. Good performance after good performance after good performance. The game against Libya, we posted his highlights on our X/Twitter page. Another good performance from Bruno Onyemaechi, putting in good crosses, linking up with the teammates well, Simon, Lukman. So I think Bruno Onyemaechi has to start from the left back position. As far as the centre backs, I think it obviously has to be Calvin Bassey and William Troost-Ekong, the skipper, for this game as well. Ekong had 1 or 2 good opportunities, one from a header, one a shot from 6 yards out that he skied in the first game against Libya. So Ekong, even you need to take your chances better in this second game. But as far as the defensive responsibility, I have full confidence in them. Any balls over the top, any aerial duels, any through passes, I believe in their ability to be able to curb the threat of the Libyans fairly easily. So I'll stick with William Troost-Ekong as the right centre back and Calvin Bassey as the left centre back. And then on the right back position, I'm going to go with Ola Aina as well. In the game against Libya in Uyo, Ola Aina did not do too much as far as offensive output is concerned. But defensively, we can always count on Ola Aina to do a good job. He is one of the best 1v1 defenders in the Premier League, if not even in the world at large. Definitely, probably the best right back or second best right back at the most in Africa. So I believe in Ola Aina to curb any threat. And when he does go forward, he can also pose a threat. His long throw-ins are also something that can be threatening. They are almost like a cross, the way he throws them. And of course, his lack of attacking output in that first game was just largely because of the fact that our attack was really, really focused on that left side. Bruno was playing very high up like a midfielder or like a forward, and Ola Aina was not really having to get involved in the game as much. Okay, so moving on to the midfield. I know a lot of people have been giving us their opinions about the midfielders, who needs to start, who needs to play. But what I would say is for a game like this, I'm expecting the Super Eagles to go out there and control possession. I'm expecting the Super Eagles to go out there and dominate the game. So for this game, I'm going to go with a 3-man midfield. In defensive midfield position, I'm going to go with Wilfred Ndidi. Wilfred Onyeing Didi, one of the keepers in the team, we know what he offers. We know the solidity that he has. He can win tackles. He can play passes forward. I don't need to explain to you guys how good Wilfred Ndidi is. So Ndidi is going to be the DM. And then the two midfielders that are going to play ahead of him, for me, are going to be Fisayo Dele Bashiru and Alex Iwobi. I know people will say, Iwobi again. Yes, Iwobi again, as far as I'm concerned. People are too critical of Alex Iwobi sometimes, in my opinion. If you want to see how he performed in that first game against Libya, you can watch the highlights on our Twitter/X page. Iwobi put in a good performance. Did he miss 2 chances? Yes, he did. Does he need to do better finishing? Yes, he does. But at the same time, I'm not going to judge a player's performance simply based on, he scored a chance or he didn't score a chance. Yes, that's going to remove some points in his overall match rating. But if you actually watch the game with your eyes and not just with statistics, Iwobi played many good passes. He created chances, created a chance for Chukwueze. If Chukwueze had done better, that would have been an assist that goes on the stat sheet. Created a chance for Lookman. If Lookman had done better, another assist that have gone on the stat sheet. He was passing the ball, moving the ball well for us. So for me, I do not necessarily see why people are so critical of Alex Iwobi. He is not his uncle JJ. He is not this skillful player that does sort of things. He is not somebody that just runs through everybody in the midfield. Remember again that Iwobi is not a natural midfielder, so he's playing out of position and he still does well for us. So we need to be less critical of him and more supportive of him, because at the end of the day, he is not doing badly, guys. Go and actually watch these games back. If you think he does badly after a game, I implore you to go and watch the game again to see how he performed. So for me, Iwobi will stay in my 11. Now I'm bringing Fisayo Dele Bashiru to also play in the 11. And the reason I say that is because at some point, we need to reward good displays. I know that Fisayo did not do too much in that game, except scoring the important winning goal. But as far as performance-wise, he didn't really do too much. He didn't have too many touches of the ball. He didn't play any defense-splitting pass I think he played about 16, 17 minutes. But ultimately, he scored the very important goal. And again, like I said, I know that people today only really care about who scores or who doesn't score. So I cannot not give him credit for that. And I think that the fact that in only about 5 matches for the Super Eagles, he's been able to score 2 goals, despite coming off the bench in many of those games, I think it's high time we rewarded him with a start. Give him the start. Let's see what he can do if he plays a good 60, 70 minutes against Libya. I expect us to control the game. So while Iwobi can be trying to play defense splitting passes, because that is not something that Fisayo Dele Bashiru really does, Dele Bashiru can be the guy that is trying to drive, move the ball forward, drive, beat players, run between players, and ultimately try to create an opportunity for himself or for one of his teammates. And I think this is also a midfield trio that we have not really explored that much, if at all. So I would like to see Ndidi, Iwobi, and Dele Bashiru. I don't think it has to be either Iwobi or Dele Bashiru. I think that they can play together, and I would like to see that come into play in this game. And I also think that there is a possibility that Eguavon goes with it, because he might have realized from the first game that we don't need 2 holding midfielders for this match. And if you look at the rest of our midfield options, they are mostly holding midfielders. Even if you don't think of them as natural DMs that just sit back, Onyedika doesn't have too much attacking threats. Alassane Yusuf definitely doesn't have much attacking threats. So for me, Ndidi and then Iwobi and Dele Bashiru form that triangle in the midfield. And then going on to the attack, on the left-hand side, of course, Ademola Lookman, our talisman, best player for Nigeria in 2024, period. Best player in Africa for 2024, period. I think Ademola Lookman has to start. Of course, scored a legitimate goal that was disallowed in the first game, and he is a chief creator. I think created 4 or 5 chances in that game against Libya. He is involved in most of the good things that we do, so he has to start. On the right-hand side, even though I don't think he's that effective as a right winger, I liked the way he and Lookman were able to rotate and switch positions in that first game against Libya. So I'm going to go with Moses Simon on the right-hand side. He's not necessarily going to be there for the entire game. He's going to be rotating with Lookman as much as possible. So I'm going to stick with him in the starting 11. And maybe later in the game, we can see somebody like Ejuke come off the bench and at least get 10 minutes to show himself against the tired legs of the Libyan players. And then, of course, for the striker, another contentious position. Some people have not been impressed with Victor Boniface. Even the coach admitted, like I said earlier after the match, that he takes too much time in trying to get his shots off. but I think Victor Boniface is probably going to start this game. Again, I want Awoni to get minutes, so I would say if Boniface is not doing too well by the 60th minute, they can bring on Awoni. But I think Boniface is going to start this game again. I think with a player like Boniface, that is undoubtedly a good player, even though he is not playing too well for the Super Eagles of Nigeria, you need to give him more confidence. You need to believe in him. Boniface is too good to just forget about him and say, oh, he's not a player that does well for Nigeria. No, Boniface is a player that you have to make him play well for Nigeria. Find what you need to tell him to do differently, what you need to tell him to do better, create opportunities for him. And with the kind of player that he is, I strongly believe that if he gets 1 or 2 goals somehow, whether a penalty, whether a tap in, that his confidence will grow and more of these opportunities will come. He posted on his Instagram after that first game, say, I've village people waiting I do now. Something is just not clicking right for him. But I believe that once the floodgates open for him, he'll be able to get more and more goals. So I'm probably going to stick with Boniface. And I also think that Eguavon will probably stick with Boniface to start in this second game against Libya. And then, all that's left now is for me to make my score prediction. I was wrong in the first game. I did not predict 1-0. I thought we are going to get more goals. I thought Boniface was going to score. But looking forward to this second game, if Libya do what I expect them to do and they come out more, because they absolutely need to get some points if they want to qualify for this AFCON, I believe that the game is going to be a bit more open. But I'm also expecting there to be more of the dark arts now that they're playing at home. I'm expecting there to be referee issues. I'm expecting there to be crowd issues. I'm not sure if the field is artificial turf or natural grass. When I looked at some of the photos, it looked like artificial turf, but I may be wrong. So if it's artificial turf, I think it's also going to play a role in making it a bit more difficult for the Super Eagles players because they're not very used to playing on artificial turfs. If it's natural grass, then that point is really, a moot point. But ultimately, I think the Super Eagles are going to get a narrow victory. I think it might be tough for us to get the first goal, but when we get the first goal, Libya would have to come out a bit more, and we're going to get a second goal. So my score prediction for this one will be a 0-2 victory for the Super Eagles of Nigeria. Again, I'm going to predict Boniface and Ademola Lookman to get the goals. I think Lookman is a sure player that you can almost count on to score a goal in any game. And again, I'm just praying and hoping that Boniface is able to score his first goal for Nigeria. So yes, let me know what your own predicted starting 11 will be in the comment section, or your preferred starting 11. And of course, let me know your score prediction and goal scorer prediction for this game. And at the end of the day, I hope that when we come after the match for our post-match analysis live show, I hope that we'll be celebrating a victory for the Super Eagles, and I hope that we'll be celebrating qualification for the 2025 Africa Cup of Nations. Of course, AFCON qualification is not something that should ever be an issue for the Super Eagles, but when we do qualify, it's still something that's worthy of just, celebrating for a brief moment and giving the players the kudos that they deserve. So there are my thoughts. Let me know if you agree with me. Let me know if you disagree with me. But please, guys, just keep it respectable. I've seen some comments on recent videos of people saying, oh, you're stupid, you're under this person's payroll, all sorts of things. I just think that we should be able to have football discourse. Whether we agree or we disagree, we should be able to keep it respectable among each other. I don't want to be blocking people from the channel, but at the same time, I don't want to come on my channel and be seeing people insulting for no reason. Hey, if it's something that's actually worthy of insulting, fine, absolutely. But if you are insulting just because you disagree with an opinion or we are just on different pages, I just think that we can be better than that. We are better people than that. And I wanted to mention that. But I love you guys. Thank you for engaging. If you enjoyed this match preview, please do not forget to like the video, share with your friends, your family, your group chats, wherever you discuss football. And of course, if you're not already subscribed, please subscribe to the channel so that you do not miss out on any of our live programs, any of our videos, and of course, the exciting content we have coming up in the future. Thank you very much, guys. My name is IoT. This is EaglesTracker of Nigerian football. Goodbye. See you on the next one.